So we're continuing in the mimer from last week. If I remember correctly, we left off on page 5 of the mimer, the printout. It's so at number 78 on the top, the second paragraph. We were talking about up till now about the milah of going into Eretz Yisrael. And going into Eretz Yisrael, that's the level of mitzvahs maisius. When the Yidden were in the Midbar over there, primarily was involved with mitzvahs in action. The Mila of going into Eretz Yisrael was the Mila of having able to be able to do the mitzvahs in action. And now these mitzvahs in action is higher and deeper and accomplishes so much more than the mitzvahs that were not in action. But that yirida and that dealing with the physical and elevating the physical, we say we reach a much higher level than a person just not being involved with the gospels at all, not being involved with mitzvahs at all, even though they were in the holy state of the mitzvah. Based on all of this, the Maimer is now going to conclude and explain what we started speaking about at the beginning of the Maimer. What was the idea of Shlach Lecha, that the Baraglim had to be sent? What is this idea of Yesura Seretz Canaan, that they had to investigate the land of Canaan before they went into this avoida of this very lofty avoida of elevating the physical? Again, we're in the second paragraph, fifth page of printout, page 78. Say you can go get a mile the Knesset law audits. This will also be understood. The advantage of entering Eretz Yisrael, I think, which is Begashmi, is now gives fulfilling mitzvahs, specifically in the physical days of Magim, Lamaili Yoiser. Through this, we reach higher, which is what we spoke about earlier in the Maimer. But as a precursor, as a preface, as an introduction, to be able to reach that avoida, it needs to have first the Yasuru Eretz Canaan. I'm not. They should avoid the begag. So to be able to be avoid the physical. Suddenly, if I read the matzavai, there needs to be the descent from the person's level. They should yuchol islavish bagash michul, so you should be able to become clothed in the physical. For this, one needs an empowerment from above to be able to engage with the physical. Now, like we spoke about earlier in the Maimer, this was the purpose of sending the Baraglim before we enter Israel. Inyan on the Sinas Koyach, the sending of the Baraglim, that is the empowerment that occurs before and enables us to be able to do the great elevation that comes through engaging with the physical. That's what it says also. You shall send, and they shall look and scout out the land of Canaan. There are different words that the Torah could have used for spying. There's a word leragel, the word lachperes. The specific expression that he uses is v'yasuru. What is the deeper meaning of the yasuru? Says the v'yasuru lashon Israel. The word v'yasuru is the word addition and increase, which of course, like it says, the Eastern artists because the advantage, the increase of the earth is in everything, meaning the advantage of Malchus and Gashmias, but the main emphasis on the word Yasuru. The Shaluach Baraglim Poisar, the Sinas Koyach, the Shiyuchel, the Yasakoy, the Bagashmi, is the sending of the Baraglim was the empowerment so they should be able to be the avoid of the physical. Zel Gabki Masha Bikish Moshe. This is also what Moshe Rabbeinu requested and asked for Ebron Law, the Ergoim. That says the beginning of Paxmas Khan, that Moshe Rabbeinu begged Hashem, was Mispal Hashem, let me please cross and I will see. seemingly it's not understood. Mahu Shabikish Moshe Edmund of Erev Gomer. What was it that Moshe Rabbeinu asked and requested? Let me please cross and see. What was this additional thing that Moshe Rabbeinu had to ask and see? The Kiva She'erev Gomer had a Yesham. If he will cross, he'll be there. Obviously, if he'll be there, he'll see. What was the request specifically that I will see, as if this is some major part of the request? I'm going to cross, I'll see it. The main part of the request should be, let me go into Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, what's the emphasis here on seeing? Rebbe adds even more so, but Yosef, even more so, it's not understood. Shari Isa, it's brought down that Zal explained about Moshe Rabbeinu's desire to enter Eretz Yisrael. So they say, did then Moshe desire to enter Eretz Yisrael because of its fruits? Does he then need to eat from its fruit? But rather, why did Moshe Rabbeinu want to enter Israel? Rather, the reason why he desired so much to enter Israel is because he wanted the mitzvahs that are pertaining to Israel. Like I said, most of the mitzvahs in Gashmi says only a Shaykh Israel, that they should be fulfilled through him. So once we know that Chazal have established that the reason that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to go into Israel is because of mitzvahs, so it's even more not understood. What's this about sea? Moshe Rabbeinu did not want to become a tourist of Eretz Yisrael. He didn't want to see the sights. The Lefiza, according to this, instead of asking about seeing, he should have requested and asked they should enter Eretz Yisrael. Then the mitzvahs will be fulfilled through him. And what's the reason? That he requested and he davened 515 tefillas. As we know, that's the gematria of the word Veschanon. All of these excessive davenings was so that he should see the land. That was what was Moshe Rabbeinu was interested in. And you know the idea behind this is the Liyosh of Aretz Vayisavoida Begashmi, since Eretz Yisrael Avoida was pertaining with the physical material things. Tzaddik was the Hagasinas Koyach Milo, like we said just before. That for this one needs to have the empowerment from above. We need to have a special koyak to be able to engage with the physical. So Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to empower the Yidden and give them the koyches to be able to deal with all the challenges that are coming along when a person is dealing with the physical world. How would one counter those challenges by Moshe Rabbeinu bringing to the Yidden the idea of seeing Elokus? The Moshe's own level was seeing godliness. In other words, the Eres Aretz, the way the Rebbe teaches other places openly, not I will see, which is one of the ways how you can translate the word Be'ere, but rather I will make others see. He will take the power of Re'iyah, Moshe Rabbeinu's own power of vision and godliness, and transmit it into the land, will transmit it that even when the Yid are at Yisrael, their connection to godliness will be in a way of vision, as we'll explain what that advantage is. It says, where do we see that he was the level of the ear? By Yar, Reishis Lo Yisrael. Beginning to him, it's referring to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe Rabbeinu had the level of vision. Even though he was the midbar, he also had a bittul that's associated with vision. That's why he said when they came complaining about it, and Aaron, he said, what are we? We are level of what? We are level of bittul. The Hoyim bittul atzmi, he was the state of an essential bittul, which is what was the result of seeing godliness. Because he had that level of Re'iyah and godliness, He wanted to affect that when the Yidden went into Eretz Yisrael, that even in Eretz Yisrael there should be the bittul that is a result of a re'iyah, of vision in God. Therefore, after the requests in Chumash Dvarim, where it says over there, but Moshe Rabbeinu in parts of this Chama, that they should let him in and see. And then when he recalled to the Yid that Hashem refused his request, so he said, and now, in other words, now that my request has been refused about imparting to you this level of vision, so now Shema Yisrael, at least here, have the level of connection with the goods that comes through hearing, through understanding, because the level of vision has been withheld that you will not have. I will not be able to impart in the Yid and Eretz Yisrael the level of vision. At this time, once Moshe Rabbeinu's request was refused, so not all that's possible in Eretz Yisrael, the level of hearing and understanding. Hearing is not like understanding, meaning understanding is much less, or hearing about something is much less than seeing. Like we see when a person hears a matter with all of its details and this anigma Indian, and he enjoys it very much. He hears an amazing story or a beautiful thing, and he really enjoys it. When he actually sees it, like kind of God will be, it'll have a much greater enjoyment and delight, even though he previously heard about it. Though earlier he already heard all the entire matter with all of its details. And the details match up exactly. It's not like he heard something different than what he saw. It's exactly what he heard is what he's seeing now. And he already heard about it and he enjoyed it. When he actually sees it, he will have a great delight from it. The reason why you'll have this great delight is because in vision and seeing, there is a pull of the inner part of the nefesh, the inner part of the soul connects with something much more powerful through vision than through hearing. Therefore, a person will delight more in the very same topic that he heard about previously, now when he sees it. Another difference that we see, another advantage that we see in seeing over hearing, might came 4 lines to the bottom in a similar vein here, but in seeing, there's a greater bittul than in hearing. When he hears about a great, awesome king, that's the faraway land. That many great and honored ministers are nullified to him and sublimated to him. Because of hearing of this, he understands how one has to be nullified to the king. He says when the king commands him to do a particular thing, he will fulfill whatever the king says. But still, in all, Hooray. Up on the next page. Eina doime klala, bittel sheyia loy alamelech asher hu ba'atzmi yira eksarim rabim nekvadim b'teil love. It's not the same as when he himself not just hears about it, but he himself witnesses the way these many great officers and ministers are nullified to the king. Then his bittul will be so much more of the essence, being a so much more powerful state. That's the idea that Moshe Rabbeinu initially wanted to affect, that by Yid, their connection with Alakus should be in a way of re'iyah, of vision, of sight. But Hashem refused that request. Therefore, afterwards he said, now Yisrael, you will hear, based on this idea. Moshe Rabbeinu was not able to bring to the Yid the level of Re'iyah, even though it began the process with sending the Meraglim, via Suru, they shall see, also related to seeing, but there was still a different type of Meragel. That was the Meraglim of Yeshua. This is the difference between what Moshe Rabbeinu's level of Meraglim and spies and scouts were versus Yeshua's level. Say Yuvin, second column at 79. Would this be understood? Actually, any questions before we go on? Say Yuvin Madisabel could the Torah Hefesh Meraglim Shalch Moshe La Meraglim Shalch Yeshua. Would this will be understood what's brought down with the Torah? Difference between the spies and scouts that Moshe Rabbeinu sent versus the ones that Yeshua sent. The Moshe Shalch some Meraglim Lasores Kolerz Kanan. Yeshua Shalch some Meraglim Lasores Yiricha Milvat. Moshe Rabbeinu sent the spies to go all over Eretz Yisrael at such a degree that Hashem had to make a miracle that they would cover in 40 days something that would take much, much longer time to cover. But Yeshua sent the spies only to spy out Yericho. Yericho, Malashar Reyach. Yericho is the word scent, smell. It's going on the garments of thought, speech, and deed. Like it says, he smelled, he smelled the scent of his garments. So we see the idea of when Yaakov went in, the garments of Esau, the Reach Begodim, we see Begodim, Levushim have to do with the level of scent. Meaning, in comparison to the person, the garments are much more external than the level of the koiches, the intellect, the emotions are much more part of me. The garments are much more external. That's why they're like a scent. This means the Shizel, thought, speech, and deed. That's the level of scent, the level of Yerich. What was the purpose of Yeshua's sending of the spies? To ensure that the thought, speech, and deed should be the way it's supposed to be. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to bring down through the bittul atzma, a bittul of the essence. Yeshua was not aiming for that. He was trying to get the reyach, the scent, should be the way it's supposed to be. The empowerment in the garments alone. Moshe Rabbeinu sent scouts in the entire land of Canaan. What's the entire land of Canaan? We know that the 7 nations of Canaan correspond to the 7 emotional character traits of Ches, Gvura, Tiferes, and so on, love of Hashem and awe of Hashem and everything else that comes out of it. I know that he wanted to primarily deal with the 7 attributes that they're primarily love and awe of Hashem. And over there, the Torah in the note, in the usually it was the older prince with the smaller letters or the Rashi letters before, but Tanya Yudal. That's explained in chapter 14 of Tanya Hefret, the difference in the avoid of tzaddikim to the beinim, the avoid of beinim in midas koladim, achra koladim yimshay. The avoid of the beinim is the measure of every person, and every person can strive and should aim for that. What is the avoid of a beinim in thought, speech, and deed? The loy meboy ma'isa, not only action. The loy meboy dibur, not only speech. The beinim strives for having it completely and totally devoted to Hashem. Even thought he wants it to be solely for Hashem's sake. He knows that thoughts of Aveda are in a certain way more difficult and more severe in its effect on the neshama than the Aveda itself, because thought is so much more close to the person. Therefore, he's careful also of the garment of thought. How much more so is he careful with the garment of speech? Even in the garment of action, he's also very careful in. That is the measure, that is the level of the Beinanim. He never transgressed an Aveda, he never will transgress. That in thought, speech, and deed. Therefore, since it's only the external part of the person, only the garments, so every person can strive for this, and every person is supposed to strive for this. And the this is asked and demanded from every single person. On the other hand, while the year of the avoid of tzaddikim is love and awe of Hashem, that something that's holy should be very much beloved. The Hebchak Kedusha Yisondu, most B'tachlis, and something that's the opposite of Kedusha, to be completely hated and despised. So this type of attitude, this inner emotional connection to Hashem and Kedusha, the avoid is this avoid is not applicable to everyone. And it comes specifically from above. It's a gift of Hashem. Like Eve said, but Ross and Tzaddikim, you created tzaddikim, meaning you created people that have this powerful love for Hashem, and the opposite for towards Klippa. The bomb that becomes the way of a gift service I will give your koyanim. Koyanim are symbolic of tzaddikim, and their avodah, even though it's called avodah Hashem in love and awe, it's still considered a gift from Hashem. They say you're going to have it based on this understanding of what Moshe Rabbeinu's Meraglim did versus what Yeshua's Meraglim did. Will be able to understand based on the difference. I think Rabbeinu will be able to understand the difference in Moshe's Meraglim and Yeshua's Meraglim. Say you're going to have to be Shluch Meraglim the Moshe Shluch Meraglim the Yeshua. This will be understood the difference between the sending of the spies and scouts of Moshe Rabbeinu, sending of the spies of Yeshua. The Moshe Rabbeinu was on a level of vision, like we mentioned before, that he was a level of seeing. Even in the midbar, he was in a state of a bittul of the essence, a total bittul, like it says, so he wanted to impart his experience on Klal Yisrael, even in Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, he sent the spies throughout the entire land of Canaan. Because from the perspective of seeing, when a person sees godliness, it's not possible to even have the opposite of holiness, which was Moshe Rabbeinu's experience. And that is something that we're actually going to experience when Mashiach comes, this vision and seeing of godliness, and therefore there won't be able to be anything we won't tolerate anything that's opposite of godliness. That's going to be the advantage of Mashiach's times. Then there will be the level of seeing godliness. Therefore, they won't be applicable at all. The opposite of holiness. The actual at this time, when we don't have the vision and godliness, it says, see, I have placed before you today life and good, and the opposite of life and bad, and you shall choose life. This means from us being told that you should choose life, that indicates that it's possible to chas shalom choose the opposite of it. But he chooses life. That is only possible now because we don't see it in front of us. In the future time, when there will be the vision and godliness, there won't be applicable at all the idea of the opposite of holiness. This is also what my father will bring in the names of Musar books, that it says, what does it mean? Who is someone that's wise, that sees what will be born? When a person cannot overcome his desires and he feels he can't control himself, he can't hold himself back from the Aved. So here's a very interesting trick that the Frierdiker Rebbe brings down from Sfar. He says, the advice for this is, imagine, picture for yourself What will be once I will already have fulfilled the time? I have this great time. I can't hold myself back. Now imagine once it's happened, once it's over, what will be my feeling now? This is a very small thing. Be a feeling of emptiness. There's nothing left of it. The Oz Hadeloy Yisharm then after he fulfills the taiva, there won't be anything else left. Since the taiva is a physical thing, therefore after he fills his taiva, there won't remain anything. That this also that top page 80 afterwards. It will also upset him that he did this because why did I do this? And now I'm left with nothing. So he has now this big hole. He should imagine to himself this big hole that he's going to feel after fulfilling his time. Science actually when the person imagines to himself what it's going to be like after he fills his time, but then he's able to overcome the spirit of his time. So we see what is the idea of imagination? Imagination is almost like seeing. You're picturing this, you're something to yourself. So we see the power of sight by seeing and picturing something in our mind that prevents and doesn't allow for something the opposite of holiness. Okay, therefore, in the Moshe, that was the level of vision, which calls by Yad, like that he saw that the beginning to him, the level of seeing the gap the midbar, which caused for Nachman. Then in the midbar, he was also the level of an essential bittul. That's why he said we are the level of Ma, what, nothing there's lachain, therefore, he had the capability to influence the mitzvahs themselves. Because from the perspective of vision, it's not possible the opposite of holiness. Yeshua can only affect only in the garments of thought, speech, and deed. This is what Moshe Rabbeinu said. Let me please cross and see. But it wasn't just I should see, but I should bring vision to the people that will be there. That's the empowerment. We wanted to affect the idea of vision. Avoid the begashmis through that there should be the avoid in the physical and not be pulled down by the physical. We should be able to engage with the physical and attain all the qualities and advantages of the mitzvahs in the physical. Last paragraph in the mind. That's also why we're sending to you. He wanted to send the malachim, and they should look throughout the entire land of Canaan. Yesudis, the word vision, looking, bringing the level of vision, the shiluach the sending of the maraglim, of the empowerment, the kadesh yuchal liyas avoid the megashris, so they be the avoid the physical. We know the maraglim weren't so great, but not at the time when Moshe Rabbeinu said the maraglim kshedim hayu, the maraglim were actually kosher, meaning their problem was their avodah wasn't the spiritual. They didn't want to deal with the physical, but they were tzaddikim. They were removed from the physicality of the world. They didn't want to be engaged with the world, meaning that they were supposed to bring the spirituality of vision into the avodah of Torah mitzvahs of Eretz Yisrael. Is that told him by Moshe sending of the scouts. That's this empowerment. It's specifically dependent on Moshe. Only because of the vision and the essential bittul of Moshe could be this empowerment. That's why Hashem told him, you should send them. This is on your opinion and view, which is a totally bedayt mishal Moshe Dafki. It's dependent specifically in the mind of Moshe. Moshe was in the level of vision, so he was the one that had to impart it. It wasn't something that Hashem gave. It says over here, they're missing some of the words over here in the Maimer. On the other hand, he still wanted that this great level of godliness should be in the physical. Again, there's a few words missing over here. Tzada bitl atzmi the Moshe Shamra v'nachnu because of the great essential bitl of Moshe that he said, we are what? A level of bitl sheish meis elef ragli omishar mechibekir by the 600,000 foot soldiers that I am within them. Though they are only a level of the feet, they are the lowest level of Klal Yisrael. The Yidden were the ones that brought the Anoichi of Hashem within Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Dafka, the physical, Dafka, the lowest level, Dafka, the Regel, brings down the revelations into Moshe. Therefore, because of his bittul, he appreciated the advantage of the physical, and therefore he could empower them but with his bittul by sending the meraglim. But the meraglim caused a disconnect. The meraglim did not have the level of this bittul. Therefore, without the bittul, they weren't sensitive to the special advantage and quality of the physical, of the land. Instead, they said it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. They said that through the avoided with the physical, not only will they not have what we spoke about earlier in the mind, but the physical is so high, much more higher than anything they did in the wilderness. They said just the opposite. The physical, the land will consume its inhabitants. It will schlep the person down. Chas v'sholom. This is also what it says that Rashi explains that they are stronger than him. Who is the him? They said Kaviyachol that Hashem, the owner, in other words, cannot take out his vessels. In other words, he has vessels in Eretz Yisrael. He has the vessels and vassals. He can't take them out. Why does he use the analogy of vessels? Because it's coming from vessels above. It's coming from very high sparks in the physical of the breaking of the vessel. But the Meraglim said, as high as these vessels are, but Hashem cannot take them out. They're stuck over there. But they said, because the great descent ain't that the owner cannot extract his vessels. All of them admitted that Abishter is the owner and the one who runs the show. The entire discussion and debate was if Hashem can remove his vessels or not. All admitted that Hashem runs the world and is in charge of the world. Why did they doubt if we could elevate the breaking of the vessels? Because they didn't have this level of bittul. But Yeshua and Kala, because they're bittul to Moshe, he said that their shadow, their protector, was removed from them, and Hashem is with us with Balabais, Yachol Haitzias Caleb, and the owner of Hashem could take out his vessels. We can elevate the sparks of the breaking of the vessel. Balabais means that level of godliness that has to do with the world. That's why he's called Balabais. He's connected with home, he's connected with the world. He can extract the sparks of the vessel. And why were they appreciative of this? She said, because they're bittul to Moshe, and they said the land is very, very good. What's the double words of Ma'od? The first Ma'od is talking about your Ma'od, like you're saying, Krishma, your Ma'od, your level of above and beyond the level of bleakful. On the second level of Ma'od is Hashem's bleakful, the true level of the image. So they appreciated how high we can reach with the extraction of the vessels, with the elevation of the sparks in the physical life. This was a result of their bittul from Moshe. The Zel Vayas called it that idea that Kalev silenced them. Vayas, we do not bittul idea. Vayas is the level of bittul. Bittul, the Mitzvah bittul from the perspective of bittul that Kalev wanted to impart in them also the level of bittul, so they should also appreciate what he appreciated. Bittul Dafki Yochel is on Sinas Koyach, Alpisar's last page. That from the perspective of Bittul, there could be the empowerment to enter Israel and elevate it. They were also silent spies. The idea of silence is the idea of again, it's quiet, it's bitter. Someone that's a cheresh, a mute, does not hear, does not speak. So, in other words, the level of silence, the level of bittul. True Indian bittul, that's the level of bittul. Even by Yeshua, there was the essential bittul, even concerning the ideas, at least concerning the ideas of thought, speech, and deed. Yes, the Indian says told him about bittul atzmi the because be able to have the empowerment to deal with Eretz Yisrael, at least in thought, speech, and deed. You needed this essential bittul of Moshe, so you needed to have the silence. So that's why it was connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. You, that's so too in the future redemption. That it's with our connection to the Rebbe. This Pashtus of the Moshe B'chol this expansion of Moshe's in every generation, but there ain't no just might come out more in our generation. That's my father-in-law. But that he is the shepherd of our generation. They are bitl love year through the bitl to him will be again chasser. It's missing a few words. The Yurgish will be felt and sensed. That the land is very, very good. Any questions?